All right, let's get to your first recorded match. So again, I'm emphasizing the word recorded here because I don't know if you had a match before this or what the story was, but when I go to Cage Match, I think it's cagematch.net. I don't know, just type in Cage Match Wrestling on Google and you can find the same resource. This is the first recorded match that they had for you. It was June 7th, 1974 in the Taylor County Coliseum in Abilene, Texas. And you've got some great partners for it. Two guys that you told me last week you grew up admiring. And now you are stepping into the ring with them for your first recorded match. You're paired up with Dick Murdoch and Terry Funk. And you're going to take on the team of Jim Dillon, better known today as J.J. Dillon, and Patriots 1 and 2, who were Bobby Hart and Bob Griffin. Ted, does that sound accurate to you?
Yes. It was my first. That was my first recorded, and what I didn't know that it was recorded.
Oh, no. So when I say recorded, it's the first match that's on record for you. So there's no video of it.
Okay. Yeah. And JJ Dillon, I remember him when he first came into the territory. He came in as a heel, and he and Dick Murdoch had a hell of a run together.
Mm-hmm.
And but to this day, I love that guy. He was good. JJ was good.
Man, everybody says what a great bumper he was, and just again, one of those guys with really natural instincts for pro wrestling, and he parlayed that into a legendary career as a manager as well.
Yeah.
And so, Ted, just for perspective, 1974, you're 20 years old. You're stepping into the ring with a bunch of grown men who have been in wrestling for a long time. And man, it's just interesting to hear that, especially because it's two guys that you grew up admiring, Dick Murdoch and Terry Funk. And now here you are, and they're your tag team partners for your first match. Like, what a really cool, fun, interesting footnote.
Yeah. Well, and that whole match that they did a deal where the week before or something, I was the referee, and somehow something happened, and I just can't remember what the reason was that they were going to come back. This is and I got two of the best partners that you could find anywhere. And I go, yeah, who you got? I said, how about Terry Funk and Dick Murdoch?
Man, well, it's a cool angle and a cool way for you to get started. I would have to imagine, though, that because you're green as goose shit, as the saying goes, that you're spending a lot of time on the apron and maybe get like a hot tag. Do you happen to remember that?
Well, not so much that. I mean, it was kind of like because I was the young guy. I was the young upstart, and that's the other thing is people knew the history. People knew that my father was Iron Mike DiBiase, who was one of the biggest names that ever came through there. So, and they knew that, the whole history is kind of like, that I had gone to or was going to West Texas State and all that. So, it wasn't like I'm this total rookie that nobody knows.
Okay.
But by the same token, when I get in there and I'm wrestling them, I was all ears, man. I'm going to do whatever they tell me. So, and I did.
So, okay. And that actually kind of makes sense too, because you don't have to be like a wrestling technician to go out there and get beat up and just listen to the guy, which is probably how the match was structured. They bring you out and maybe beat up on you.
What Coliseum was that?
You were in, the Taylor County Coliseum in Abilene.
Taylor County. Yeah, that's right. And it was a Monday night.
Wow, good memory.
Because we went from Taylor County Coliseum and drove across to Odessa, which was on Tuesday night. And then we get up on Wednesday and we would drive down another 100 miles to San Angelo. And we would wrestle in San Angelo, on Wednesday night. And then we would drive all the way back to Amarillo and wrestle in Amarillo on Thursday night. And then Friday night, we would wrestle in Lubbock. And then we would go back to Amarillo and we would do our TV on Saturday morning. And then if you had the short trip, you would go to Hereford, 30 miles away. Or if you had the long trip, you would go to Pueblo, Colorado, or Colorado Springs. One of them's 300, the other was a 350. And whether you're in Clovis, New Mexico, I'm sorry, yeah, Clovis, New Mexico, or up in the Colorados, everybody's going to go from there to Albuquerque. And Albuquerque was every Sunday night. Wrestle in Albuquerque on Sunday night, drive all the way back to Amarillo, 300 miles, and get up and go to Abilene on Monday.
So I want our listeners to think about that for a second. You're a 20-year-old man and you're fresh into this business. You just got married. You're trying to make ends meet, and you are jumping into the wrestling game with both feet. You're gone. You're traveling. You're making these towns and trying to kind of make your bones and learn along the way. Like, man, how did you feel about all the travel associated with your new line of work?
Well, I guess because I grew up in it, it's like I don't know. I just looked at it at this. This is part of the game. If you're going to be in the game, you're either all in or you're not in. Because if you can't stand riding in a car, then you don't become a wrestler.
Yeah, maybe not for you if you can't take the travel.
Yeah.
Now, I'm asking you to reach back 50 years this month. So if you don't recall, it's fine. How big would you say the crowd was for a match like that? I mean, this is your first match. Would you say it was a packed house?
Oh gosh, no. In Abilene, no. Abilene, the building in Abilene is a very nice building, but they put the ring at the far, like the dressing rooms were, back over, like one on each side, and they would put the ring on as far, I guess, to the other side as they could, so where the wrestlers would go, from their dressing rooms to the ring from each side of the ring. And yeah, it was, Abilene would be, oh my gosh, they didn't do big, they never did huge houses there. Occasionally, but Abilene was never a town where you would fill that building to capacity ever.
So I know you grew up in wrestling, and obviously you're familiar with, the crowds because you'd been out there as a referee before and stuff. But now you're out there with a couple guys you idolized as a kid as your tag team partners, and again some ring veterans in J.J. Dillon and the Patriots 1 and 2. Would you say that you were nervous going into the match?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, for sure. But I mean, and again, the guys, they went out of their way to help me relax. He said, just listen, there's only one way to learn this thing, and that's to do it. And so, I went out and did it. And of course, I was getting, as it went along, I was getting a lot of encouragement because I believed that everybody saw, that I had a natural knack for it. And I said, I had a natural knack for it because it's what I had loved and wanted to do since I was 10 years old, watching my dad on TV.
Afterwards, do you remember coming to the guys and asking for advice? Like, were you one of the young guys who was coming and asking a million questions after a match?
Well, not so much as asking a million questions, but going to them and basically saying, okay, how'd I do? And they were honest and nobody, I never had any like serious criticism. I mean, in terms of, don't ever do that or don't ever do that. If there was any criticism, it was like little stuff,
nuances.
Yeah, and I think that they understood that, and just like the Funk brothers, both of those guys. I mean, they grew up in the business, so it was almost a natural thing for them to do is to step into the ring and carry on in their father's footsteps.
And it was the same case for you, where you were like a fish to water.
Yeah.
And looking back on it, your first match ever 50 years ago, June 1974, did you feel like you did a pretty good job out there? Or afterward, we can always be our own harshest critic. Did you look at yourself and say like, boy, I need to get better? Or did you feel like, okay, I'm starting something big here?
Well, no, I mean, you can always get, I think, you can always get better, but, again, back in the dressing room, post match, they told me back then, everybody called me Teddy. And they said, Teddy, you did a good job for your first match. You did good, kid. So keep it up.
Man, and let me tell you, as somebody who's training in wrestling now, to have some ring veterans say something like that to you after your first match, it's got to make you feel like $1 million.
Yeah. Yeah, it was good.